I'd always wanted to try writing fiction, so I started with a science fiction trilogy. And that's, yeah, I guess I've always liked writing. I seem to put off other things. I procrastinate and don't shovel my sidewalks and go back to writing instead of, doing the work I should be doing. Well, my name is George Asher. My age could be confidential, but I'm up there. I live in the Charleston, West Virginia area. I'm a retired geologist. I used to work for the groundwater program for DEP here in Charleston. My job was to remediate groundwater problems, mostly diesel fuel. So if you spilled 50,000 gallons of diesel fuel and didn't fit in any other kind of DEP program, I was the guy that you got to. I grew up in central Maryland, Peter Pan childhood, creeks to explore, just woods to explore, just out in the country. We had feral farms around us, so we had thousands of acres we could wander in, and as I said, it was a Peter Pan existence. And it's all a city now, and they got them bunched in there as tight as they can get them. It's now Columbia, Maryland. I'd read The Dragons of Pern, which takes place on a planet that they've lost contact with the, I guess, mother planet. They've lost contact with Earth. And I said to myself, now what happens if a modern spaceman, somebody from Star Trek or something, got marooned on this planet? And that's where I took it from there. And I wanted to have a wizard, a Gandalf-like wizard, which saved the guy, saved the spaceman, and then took him down to the planet. And within the first 3 or 4 chapters, got lost. He doesn't turn up until the 3rd book. Your main character cannot have a protector, cannot have an all-powerful protector. That's why Dumbledore had to die, and that's why Obi-Wan Kenobi had to die. They could not, the main character could not have a protector. I didn't want to lose my wizard totally, but I didn't want him to be the protector. There's 2 countries fighting each other, and the country that Jar, my hero, ends up in is also fighting the raiders. There's a ghost raiders, and there's a church that wants to become all powerful. He's indiscreet with his modern weapons, and that attracts everybody's attention. It attacks the church attention, and they throw him in prison. So you've got a whole bunch of things going on. Somewhat Louis L'Amour with the Ghost Raiders, somewhat Shogun with the powerful church, and then when he does get out of prison, he starts printing he forms a printing company, and he starts printing a Bible in English, which just infuriates the church. And of course he's lost his he's lost the wizard that can get him back into space. So that's the 2nd book, and then the 3rd book too. And he has a secret. From the word go, from page 1, he has a secret that doesn't come out until the 3rd book. We had a library fair here, and the woman who was doing the telling the future, did not show up. So they just grabbed some woman off. They grabbed one of the library employees and put her in a tent. And these teenagers would come in, and she would sit there and say, "You feel like you're all alone in the world. You feel like nobody likes you." And all these teenagers were like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" Of course, that's what all teenagers feel, or most of them. So yeah, I felt like I was on the out. And of course, we also live in a society where we're very, where discrimination, anti-discrimination is very profound, I don't know, which we pay attention to. Most people pay attention to. So I just wanted to make her, Akito, just the lowest thing that nobody wanted to like her. Plus she's a moon elf. There's 6 different kinds of elves, and they're supposed to be the worst of the bunch. And of course she's just discriminated against. That's all there is to it. And then look out. And when she gets her powers, it's like, stay on her good side. I'm not sure there's a symbolic to this thing. I wrote a book where a woman traveled through mirrors, and I couldn't sell it, I couldn't do anything with it, and I got, as you mature when you're writing, you just think, God, that's not working. So I took that book and threw it in the trash, and came up with another book where a man can walk through mirrors. He doesn't know that. He gets transported from a pool of water to another pool of water to another pool of water. He doesn't have any clue why this is happening, and until the last chapter of the book you don't find out why. And he ends up in a kingdom, again, you called it medieval, with knights and swords and all that stuff. And he gets transported by a fly. They have ships that can fly through the air, like John Carter Mars. And he ends up in another kingdom, and he gets tested to see if he can go through the mirrors, and he cannot do it. But he also meets a woman who is at a party, or that just does not fit in. At where she does not fit into the environment he meets her in. And she is indeed a mirror walker. And when she pushes him through a mirror, they're both mirror walkers. Ultimately, there's an evil wizard who's trying to, he's doing medical experiments on people to get eternal life. And they end up having to deal with him. My character, Morgan Mayo, Hannah, his girlfriend, grew up on the wrong side of the river, so to speak. She's good at fighting and doing that kind of stuff, but he's not. And in the end of the book, he almost gets him killed because of this. But there's corridors behind the mirrors. They can step through the mirrors, and they can move down these corridors. They have no idea where the corridors came from, and they can step out of other mirrors. And I got 3 books on them. The second one is a murder mystery. It's more of a murder mystery. And so that's that, I guess. I had them on the West Coast, and the ocean was east. I was glad I was able to go back and fix that. Caver. Okay, go caving. Now, if I get hurt in a cave somewhere, there's a woman hurt in Tennessee a couple of years ago, and some people on her trip helped her out, and she ended up in a stretcher. And they moved her out of the passage into a big room, and she was utterly shocked at the people waiting to help. So if I go caving and I get hurt, 40, 50 people are going to show up to get me out of the cave. And I guess they're all going to be my friends, except I'm only going to know about half of them. So you just depend on your friends for things. I was on a mock rescue in South Dakota, and we had a rock slip on us, and we had to belay everybody up a steep slope. It was a little bit of danger, not much, but there was a little bit. And people you belay them up a slope, and they'd leave the cave. And then you belay the next one, they'd leave the cave. And then at some point, we got the last person up. I turned around and looked in the room behind me. Nobody had left the cave. They're all sitting behind me with their lights out, just sitting there. They could have left, but they weren't going to leave the cave because, you all came out together. You didn't leave somebody behind, and that's probably where my books go to. You got friends even if you sometimes don't know you got them.